Okay, so the question of the day is how many snakes do I have right now? And if you've been watching my videos, you know I just did a couple reptile shows back to back. I sold a bunch of snakes, and as a matter of fact, I was looking around this room and I didn't even know how many snakes I actually had. I actually started, I think, a few weeks ago with 87 snakes, and now I am down to 52. And out of those 52, 16 of them I'm going to sell at the upcoming reptile shows. There's actually 2 shows pretty much back to back coming up here in Colorado in about 13 weeks. That is Reptilian Nation and Denver Repticon, and as far as I understand, they're pretty much the weekends back to back. So it's going to be kind of crazy doing 2 shows back to back. I thought it was kind of crazy doing one show, taking a weekend off, and then doing another show the following weekend. Let me tell you, as far as the vendors standing behind the table on your feet all weekend, it's like you just want to take a couple days off after the weekend because it's pretty exhausting. But let me tell you, doing the reptile shows, selling the snakes, meeting the people, seeing what everyone else has, it's really an exhilarating experience. So what I'm going to do today is I want to go through and show you all 52 snakes. I'm going to start with the snakes that I'm going to have for sale, the 16 snakes. These are the hatchlings from last year that I'll be selling at the upcoming reptile shows. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them out tub by tub and give you a quick show, a quick description of each one, and kind of give you an idea of what's going to be available at the show and some of the snakes that I'm breeding this year. All right, so I want to start out with my female Lemon Blast Scaleless Head. These guys are doing really good. They went on a fast for a little bit, and I started doing fresh killed mice, some of my old breeder adult mice, and they started eating right away. It seems like mice always kind of kicks the fasting snakes back into gear and they start eating again. This is really high expression scaleless head female ball python, and I decided to put these up for sale. If they don't sell, I'll definitely be holding them back, but these will definitely be at the next show. Here is a female scaleless head ball python. This is 50% het caramel albino. I originally planned on trying to breed 2 of these together to get the totally scaleless caramel albino ball pythons. And if nobody buys this, I'll still shoot for it. These guys are still on food, eating really well. They just ate some rat pups. And most of these are all on pretty much the rat pups. I have a few like the Lemon Blast that are still on mice. If they get really stubborn, I kind of switch over to mice. It's kind of the trick to getting the stubborn ball pythons to eat. But these guys are growing really fast, and they'll definitely be at the show. Here's a really stunning snake. This is a Lemon Blast bamboo. So it's a pastel, pinstripe, and a bamboo. And this is the one that kind of has the hieroglyphs on the back. It's really interesting. Kind of has like a little deer right here. It's because some really interesting patterns and symbols. It almost looks like little animals and birds and some really interesting patterns on the snake. And this is really shows the potential of the bamboo. This is one of the most impressive combos that I've seen. This and the calico bamboo are really outstanding combos of the bamboo. This happens to be a female, and this will be at the show as well. So this one is a male scaleless head, 50% het caramel albino. This one you pair with the female, and I'm shooting for the totally scaleless caramel albino, and decided to put these up for sale. If they don't sell, I'll definitely keep them. These are pretty high expression scaleless heads. Some of them you can actually get where they don't have as many scales missing from the head, and some of them it's almost really tough to tell if they're even scaleless heads because of the limited number of scales missing from the head. But these are really easy. You can definitely tell these are scaleless head ball pythons, and these are, all of them seem to be really growing really fast, have a healthy appetite. I haven't had any problems with any diseases with any of these snakes or any of them really going off of food, except for those 2 Lemon Blast scaleless heads, which is pretty interesting. So if I was to pick one snake out of all my holdbacks that I'd be willing to keep, it's probably this one, the pastel scaleless head female ball python. This girl is really intense. I can't believe how the scaleless head really brings out the pastel color. It kind of breaks up the pattern and it really intensifies the color overall. And I'm thinking just the scaleless head by itself, I'm thinking maybe it reduces the amount of scales actually on the snake. It's you know, you actually have to breed two of them together to get the totally scaleless ball python, but I'm thinking even just one copy of the scaleless head gene, I'm thinking it really intensifies the colors. I'm thinking it has something to do with lightening or thinning out the scales through the whole ball python. I think it's really interesting how bright this one is. Here's another female scaleless head, 50% het caramel albino, and some of these, like this one, I was actually feeding a little bit smaller meals to try to kind of push these through at the show. And these fit in my smaller display cases at the show. I was actually feeding some of the ones I was gonna hold back. I was actually feeding them bigger rats to actually get a little more size on them. The problem is now is that I'm putting them up for sale. I actually needed the bigger display cases, so this, you know, this will probably still fit in my small display case, but I'll still bring my big display cases so they have plenty of room to crawl around. So here's my male calico bamboo. I actually sold the male pastel calico bamboo, and the price was right, and the guy, you know, offered me like a really good price for that snake. I was really wanting to hold that one back, but I still have this one, and I thought, you know, I could actually sell this one and I could still make another one because I have both of the parents and I can still do the cross again, which would be pretty cool. It's a really powerful breeder, has the calico and the bamboo, and it's a male, so if you bred it to, for example, like a female, even if it was a normal female, half the babies would come out bamboo, half would come out calico, and you'd probably get like, I think it's 25% that would actually come out calico bamboo, just like this. So a really powerful breeder. All right, so here's a really impressive snake. This is my female lesser bamboo. It's a blue-eyed leucistic in the blue-eyed leucistic complex. You can actually make these if you had like a super bamboo, a super lesser, a super Mojave, or anything in the blue-eyed leucistic complex. You can breed two of them together. If they get two copies of the genes, then you come out with an all-white snake. And the interesting thing about this is it has a little bit of yellow right down the center of the back. That makes it really unique. You can definitely tell there's something going on between the lesser and the bamboo. It's a really awesome snake. So here's my other scaleless head lemon blast female, and this funny thing is, but these two snakes, they're almost exactly the same. They came from the same clutch and they fasted at the same time. They started going on food at the same time, and this last meal they both ate fresh killed mice. Pretty much, you know, they're like on par. It's weird that they're the only two snakes out of all my hatchlings that really fasted, and they're like neck to neck. I don't know if it's something with the clutch or something with the particular morph. It's just really interesting. I didn't think that, you know, the fasting was associated with the morph or the clutch or anything like that. It's just really a curiosity that both snakes are, you know, pretty much neck to neck as far as the fasting and the eating. So here's my male bamboo lesser. I have a male and a female, which is pretty interesting. If you bred the two together, you get all blue-eyed leucistics. And the only problem is you'd get some that are bamboo lessers, some that are super bamboos, and some that are super lessers. And as far as what I've seen, you can actually tell a difference between anything that doesn't have the bamboo and a lesser, because the bamboo lesser kind of has this little yellow stripe along the back, and the other two, the super bamboo and the super lesser, actually are completely stark white snakes. But you really couldn't tell the difference between the super bamboo and the super lesser. So you'd pretty much just have to sell them as a blue-eyed leucistic complex if you bred the two of them together. So here's a male pastel bamboo. I don't have many of these left. I'm getting pretty thin. And the thing I really like about the pastel and the bamboo together is that the pastel really brings out the patterns on the side of the snake. And you can definitely tell it's a pastel because it has a lighter head than a typical bamboo. These are really some awesome snakes. If you bred this to a normal, you get 25% pastel bamboos, 50% would be bamboos, 50% would be pastels on average. So here's another male scaleless head, 50% het caramel albino. And the funny thing is when I first started selling snakes at my very first show after the big, huge hatching season last year when I had, you know, over 100 hatchlings, the funny thing is the scaleless head ball python started selling like hotcakes right away, and I sold a whole bunch of them, and then it just kind of puttered out, and then I started selling a whole bunch of bamboo stuff. And these are kind of the ones that I thought were going to sell the scaleless head, and I'm actually surprised I still have some of them left. So here's another male pastel bamboo, and the interesting thing about these bamboo combos is there's quite a variability in the colors and the patterns between just the straight bamboo and the pastel bamboo. You notice this is one of the few pastel bamboos that kind of has wiped out sides. Most of them have a lot of pattern on the sides. You can definitely tell it's a pastel because of the lighter head. These are really beautiful snakes. So here's another male scaleless head, 50% het caramel albino. I'm actually surprised I still have some of these left. These are really interesting. And this one, I don't know, I'd probably gamble that it's you really can't see markers, but it's interesting when some of the white comes up the sides and has almost like flames. I think that's probably a pretty good indication that this snake here could be het caramel albino. So here's another male pastel bamboo, and this guy's got some really decent size to him. He's getting really big, and he's a good looking snake too. It's kind of a mid-range between having a little bit of pattern on the side, but not as much as the one. Some of them are really reduced and some of them aren't. This is probably one of my favorite snakes here. It has just a little bit of pattern along the sides. This one seems a lot more intense. It seems like it's a little more reduced up on the back. It's really a beautiful looking snake. So here is one of my last, just a straight bamboo. This is a male, and it's funny, I sold out all the females, it seems like really fast, but the males I would think are more powerful breeders because you can breed this to anything. 50% of the babies come out bamboo. As a matter of fact, my bamboo, in the very first year I bred my bamboo to 13 females, 11 of them laid eggs, and that's where all these bamboos came from. It was a really good year for bamboos, and that's just the power of a male versus a female. For a female, sure, you get the eggs, but you're waiting a long time. You know, for something like this, the way I did it is I bought someone's collection of females, just pretty much straight genes, normals, lemon blast, pinstripes, pastels, and I bred my bamboo through all of them and got a whole bunch of bamboos. It was a really great year. Alright, so that was the last of my hatchlings that I'll have at the show. The rest of them are my big adults. This is my adult female albino, and these albinos are really stunning. This is a really high contrast albino, and she laid eggs last year, had a really nice clutch of eggs. I actually crossed her with my albino pied. I got a whole bunch of albino 100% het pied babies, and they went fast. They sell, you know, although albinos seem like they sell really fast, as soon as I put them on the display tables, they are gone right away. It's a really popular snake. If you're looking for a staple that'll always sell, the albinos are always really popular. So here is a really big normal, and at first glance it looks like she's ovulating, maybe full of eggs, but the interesting thing is she just ate a big rat. So, you know, typically if they're full of eggs and they're ovulating, then they don't typically eat. So this girl's kind of confusing me, and whoa, That kind of freaked me out, freaked her out. I guess she didn't expect me to touch her. So whoo, I thought she bit me for sure. Oh, I kind of got my adrenaline going. But this girl, you know, I was hoping she would lay, you know, maybe she has some follicles. We're going to have to go through at some point, take an ultrasound of all these girls and figure out where they're at. But it's really interesting that she ate a rat, and I didn't think that she'd eat because I'm pairing her up this year. So here's another snake that's kind of confusing me. If it wasn't for the ultrasound, I really wouldn't know what's going on with these girls, because you can, with the ultrasound, you can look inside and see the size of the eggs. So I'm actually pairing this one up, and she actually locked, and I saw copulation, but she went off food. She hasn't been eating since the very beginning of the breeding season, which makes me wonder if she's actually gonna lay eggs. Typically, if they don't eat, they don't develop the eggs and they don't go for the year. And I'm pretty sure this one is, we think it's 100% het ghost, which really lightens and enhances, you know, just one copy of the gene. Sometimes you can really tell it brightens the color, you know, kind of like with the scaleless head. If you have one copy of the scaleless head, it just really intensifies everything. And we think this one might be het for ghost just because of the lighter color. If it has two copies of the gene and it's a visual ghost, everything is completely washed out. It's like anything you mix ghost with, it just really fades it out. So here's a big pastel female that is, I'm breeding her, but she's been off of feed. She's got some really good body condition. If she does indeed have some eggs, she'll probably go. Last year, all my pastels laid big clutches of eggs, and I had a whole bunch of, you know, a lot of my bamboo stuff came from these pastels. The pastel bamboos came from the girls like this. So if you saw my video at the last show, I actually sold a pied female and a pied male, and I have another pied female that is definitely not for sale. This is the one I'm keeping. She's been doing really well. I figured out she wants live rats only. She's got some really good body weight. Look at how big this is. I've never seen a pied do so well and eat so good. And I'm pairing her up with my Coral Glow 100% het pied, so I'm shooting for the Coral Glow pied hatchlings this year. So here's just a regular old normal female ball python, and she is hissing. She doesn't want me to pick her up. I think she's pretty much full of eggs. She's getting ready to lay pretty soon. But the interesting thing about this girl is that she's really a different color than most of my normals. A lot of the normals have a slightly darker color. This one almost looks like a brown khaki, kind of I guess like a camouflage color. It's really interesting. And I was looking at the babies from last year. She laid last year, and you really couldn't tell that she passed that khaki color onto her hatchlings. I'm thinking it's just kind of an unusual normal color that is not genetic. So here is my albino 100% het pied female, and this girl has kind of an interesting color pattern. If you look at her yellows, it's kind of a dark yellow and then a light yellow with a white. It almost looks like two different patterns on top of each other, with like a dark yellow splotched through there, and then a light yellow. It's really interesting. I've pretty much never seen anything like it. And a lot of the babies, they came out as a really high contrast albino. I didn't really get any babies that looked like this, so it's really interesting. I don't know if it's maybe two strains of albino on top of each other. it's really weird. But I actually got my visual albino pied female from this, and I was actually going to hold that one back, and some guy was looking for it every show, and then I finally gave in and sold it to him. He's been looking for it for a long time, and that snake's doing really well. And this girl actually has the year off because she laid really late. As a matter of fact, she just ate her first rat, I would say like a week ago, and she's been fasting ever since she laid eggs last year. It's pretty amazing. I'm glad she's finally back on food. So here's another normal female. This one I actually got for free on Craigslist. I tried to breed her up the last couple years and she didn't go. I'm pretty sure she's gonna go this year. She's got some really good body weight to her. She is a pretty big girl, doing really well. When I got her, I'd say 4 years ago, she was really skinny, like the size of a hatchling, and she was like a year old and really skinny. The guy was only feeding her one mouse every month, and she's definitely got some good size to her now. I think she'll go this year. So here's one of my female lemon blasts. I actually have 4 female lemon blasts. Some are brighter yellow, some have more patterns, some have like a stripe down the back. They're all a little bit different. And this one I paired up this year, and she is, look at how big she is. She is definitely full of eggs. I'd say she's probably one of the first ones that's gonna go. She is a beast, and I'm really looking forward to getting some eggs from this girl. So here's a snake that started as a stubborn feeder in the breeding season. This is a pastel female, and you can tell by the body condition that she probably won't lay any eggs this year, even though I've been pairing her up. You could definitely tell she is really skinny. She's been off of food, and I probably should have just gave her the year off. You never know on some of these snakes if they're gonna eat or not. She's a really pretty pastel. She's got some really cool highlights up in here. She's a really neat snake. So here's another lemon blast female. This girl definitely looks like she's gonna lay some eggs too. And I was looking back at my calendar, and actually I had my very first eggs last year on the 15th of March. And today is the 15th of March. So I'm thinking, go through these tubs, I may actually see some eggs, the first eggs of the season, which would be pretty cool. All right guys, so I was actually recording this a couple days ago, going through my snakes, and I hit this big female with my first eggs of the year. It was pretty exciting, and I pretty much stopped the video and I spun it off into a different video called My Very First Eggs of 2019. And if you look back at that video, that is kind of where all this ended up. So I'm going to take all these videos from the snakes that I'm going through one by one, and I'm going to continue halfway through. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to play that next clip where I discovered those eggs. It was pretty an exciting moment. The very first clutch of eggs from 2019. Let's check out that video. All right guys, you are not going to believe this. As soon as I said that, I opened up this tub, and here is my first eggs of the year. I can't even believe it. This is unbelievable. I can't even believe it. This is my 100% het caramel albino female. This is the biggest snake that I actually have in my entire collection. I was thinking that this girl might lay up to 15 eggs. I can't even believe it. I wasn't even expecting this. As a matter of fact, if I'd have known this girl laid eggs, this video would have been completely different. This would have been, yeah, my very first snake eggs of the year instead of my entire collection of ball pythons. So it's kind of a, I'm not even sure what to title this video now. This is going to be interesting because I'm going to set these ball python eggs up in the incubator. I can't even believe it. So what I'm going to do is, oh my goodness, my incubator is plugged in and it's warmed up and it's ready to go. Thank goodness I actually had that all ready and set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this tub back, and I'm going to get a container to put these eggs in. I'm going to show you how I set up my ball python hatchling and ball python eggs in the incubator. Okay, so now that you saw the eggs from that female, I'm going to continue to go through the rest of my snakes. I have a few big females left, and then I'm going to go through some of my higher end holdbacks. Let's check those out. All right, so here is my really big female pinstripe, and you can definitely tell she is full of eggs, and she's actually been on food too, so it's really good. She's continually eating and building those eggs, so she's definitely going to lay a really big clutch of eggs. And I don't really want to pick these girls up too much that are full of eggs, just in case. You could definitely tell, especially right here by the tail, where the tail is fat and then it gets skinny right here. You can definitely tell that those are all building eggs from here all the way down. She looks like she's gonna lay a nice clutch of eggs this year. So here's another nice lesser female, and this girl actually laid a nice clutch last year, and then she went off of food and didn't eat for quite a while. She's back on food, but I didn't pair her up, so she's definitely not gonna lay this year. She has the year off. I'd say about half my snakes have the year off because they just didn't have the body condition. Here's another really big het caramel albino female. My other one just laid the clutch of eggs. This is definitely, she's been eating really well, and I actually paired her up quite a few times with my spider pied male. So I should get everything. If she lays eggs, it'll be 100% het pied, which would be pretty cool. And then I'll get normals and spiders, and all of them will be 50% het caramel albino. Some pretty complicated genetics, and there's a lot of people that are asking me at the show, hey, where's all the spiders? And there's a big controversy about the spider ball python, and assuming I actually get some spiders, it'll be nice to bring some to the show to actually introduce the spiders again to the shows. They've pretty much all but disappeared here. You talk about banning the spider over in the UK, it's pretty much regulated out of the shows here. I mean, it's supply and demand. It's not really regulated here, but I would say there's a lot of people that kind of shy away from the spiders, and they're not really into the spider ball pythons. You'd be hard pressed to find spiders. So I think, producing a few spiders, I think it would actually, I think there's enough demand to where you could actually sell a few spiders. You don't want to go crazy and produce a whole lot of spiders. The thing is the head wobble, so that's a whole different video. I don't really want to get into that too much, but I'm actually really looking forward to getting a whole bunch of the spiders, the normals, all the het pieds, and 50% het caramel albino. This would be a pretty awesome clutch. So here's another one of my lemon blasts, and for some reason this girl has gone off of food for a long time, and you can tell she's a little bit got a little bit of an indentation in her belly. She just won't eat. I don't know what the deal is with this girl. She probably hasn't eaten for months and months and months, and every now and then she'll take a little small rat. I've tried live and fresh killed, frozen thawed, everything. I've even tried mice, and this girl just refuses to eat. I didn't pair her up at all, and she's just one of those that drives me crazy. But sometimes ball pythons, they just fast for no reason at all, and this is what's going on with this girl. So here's another lemon blast. This is actually, if I was a betting man, I'd say this is a completely different line of ball pythons than all my other ball pythons. She has a really big head, really thick boned ball python. I'm thinking she comes maybe from a different locale than my other ball pythons. She's really interesting. I actually paired her up with my pastel desert ghost male, so it'll be really interesting if she lays. And she's been off of feed. She's got, I'm kind of, maybe 50-50 that she's gonna go. She laid a really nice clutch of eggs last year, so I'm really hoping she produces this year. All right, so take a look at this girl. This is what a spider looks like. She actually has jungle woma in her, which is kind of a lightning enhancer, reduces the pattern a little bit, and they actually call a jungle woma spider a ridgeback because it kind of reduces the pattern, puts most of the spider up on the ridge of the back. She's a really beautiful snake. She laid some eggs last year. None of the babies were spiders, and she got egg bound on 2 of them. Those 2 eggs went bad, but we had quite a few other eggs. I think it was like a clutch of 7 eggs, and I think 5 of them were good eggs. No spiders came out of her at all. She actually has the year off this year. The problem with this girl is she is a mouser. She will only eat mice. It drives me crazy, and you can tell she's really skinny. It takes a lot of mice to really put weight on her, and she just recently ate a couple adult mice. The problem is with a mouser, you give her like 2 mice and she's pretty much done, and she refuses to eat rats. I actually tricked her into eating a rat once and she regurgitated it, so I'm kind of staying away from the rats, but she is really difficult to get up to weight to breed. She has this year off. This is my pastel calico female. This is where all my bamboo calico stuff came from. She's a really good looking snake. She laid a really nice clutch of eggs last year, and this year she's been a really stubborn eater, and I gave her the year off. And unfortunately, you can't breed all your snakes every year, and I wish I could have bred her this year, but especially if they lay really late in the season, you pretty much you can't turn around and breed them again because they don't have the body condition. As a matter of fact, a lot of these snakes, they might not have the body condition for next next year, if they don't start eating, I might give them 2 years off. It's really slow on some of these projects. So now we're into some of my higher end holdbacks, I guess you would say, the snakes that I invested in. I didn't actually produce these myself. I actually purchased these a few years ago for future breeding projects. This is one of the first girls I'm pairing up. She is my pastel spider desert ghost, a really amazing girl. I paired her up with my male pastel desert ghost, and it looks like she might lay some eggs. She's got really good body condition, probably lay some smaller eggs. This is probably the minimum size that I would breed a female ball python. This is my albino pied male, and he is definitely off of food in the breeding season. I paired him with quite a few snakes. I just sprayed him down. He's got a little bit of water on him, but he is a real beauty. He's really paid off on some of my pairing last year. I actually got a visual albino pied female, and I'm hoping for the double hets and triple hets this year. This is my lesser clown female ball python, and I did not pair her up. She's actually probably has 1 more year before she'll be big enough to pair up. She's really looking good. I really want to get into the clown stuff, and I really want to hold back a bunch of clown combos and really get into more of the clown stuff. I purchased 2 females. This one that has the lesser gene and the clown gene, and another one with just the clown, and I'm hoping that'll boost my clown production. I still don't have a male, so as soon as these girls are up to size, I'm going to purchase a male and get more into the clowns. So speaking of clown, this is what the base clown looks like. This is just a straight female clown, no other genes, just clown, and it's a recessive gene. I actually paired her up with my albino pied shooting for the triple hets, and she's still on food. I'm not sure if she's gonna go this year or not. It looks like she could be developing some eggs, but typically they start going off of food about this time. So it's this is probably the lightest I would ever pair up a snake. This is kind of on the cutting edge of, I think she's about 1,500 grams when I paired her up. I would actually prefer to wait 1 more year just so she has the body condition, but hopefully she'll actually lay some eggs this year. So this is my spider pied male ball python, and just came out of a shed, and look at how bright white that is, just really stark bright white. He's a really impressive snake, probably one of the biggest males I have, and I bred him to my 100% het caramel albino the first time I ever tried to pair him up, and I'm not sure if he's gonna go or not. I'm kind of shying away from the spider just because of the head wobble and the stargazing and the whole controversy, but I thought, you know, just for kicks, I thought I'd pair them up this year and see if I can get any spiders, because a lot of people are actually asking for spiders at the show, and there aren't any, which is pretty amazing. So this is my pastel desert ghost male. Pastel and desert ghost. So pastel is codominant. You can have the super pastel, and the desert ghost is a recessive, so you need 2 copies of the gene, and just look at how that pops. That is so amazing. I'm definitely going to get more into not only the clowns but the desert ghost stuff. These just really are incredible snakes. So this is my scaleless head male ball python, and I bred him to a whole bunch of snakes last year. Got a whole bunch of really cool scaleless head ball pythons. Remember, if you breed 2 scaleless heads together, you get a completely scaleless ball python, and they look kind of weird. They have a completely different look to them. It almost looks like if you look at the top of the head where the scales are missing, the whole snake pretty much looks like that. It's kind of a it doesn't have any scales. It's kind of a weird looking texture. It even feels different, and it's, you know, I think some people are against it just because they think it's you know, they need the scales for a defense mechanism. I've heard a lot of people kind of talk negatively about it, but you know, it's kind of the cutting edge morph. There's not a whole lot of totally scaleless snakes out there, and you know, we still haven't really seen people, as far as I know, breed a totally scaleless male to a totally scaleless female. It's that new. It's pretty much one of the cutting edge morphs that had just hit the ball python market. So here is a beautiful all white snake. This is my lesser pied ball python female. I bought her last year, and I've been growing her up, hoping to breed her. She might not even be ready next year. She might be ready the following year. She has a little bit of a head wobble, so I'm thinking thinking she might have some spider in there. It may be kind of just kind of an extra bonus that I got with this snake, and I've never really heard of the lesser with the pied having the head wobble. And the interesting thing about the head wobble, you put them flat on the ground, they're perfectly fine, but you pick them up and they get kind of a head corkscrew kind of thing going. It looks kind of weird, but you know, typically these snakes, you put them on the ground and it kind of neutralizes the head wobble and the corkscrewing, which is really interesting. Alright, so this is my really big male bamboo. This is where all my bamboo stuff came from. Last year I paired them up with 13 females and 11 of them laid eggs. It was pretty incredible. This year I'm scaling way back on the bamboo stuff. I only paired them up with 3 snakes, and if I get 1 or 2 to lay, that's perfectly fine. I pretty much, I think I pretty much saturated the market last year with a whole bunch of bamboo stuff. So I'm kind of scaling back on that, and I'm kind of focusing on other projects. The bamboo really paid off for me. It was a really awesome investment, and not only that, they're awesome snakes. It was really cool to bring bamboos here to Colorado. A lot of people haven't seen them, and now there's a lot of people out there that actually have some of my babies, and bamboos are in style. So here's an extremely stubborn little girl. She has really been tough to feed. She is a spider pied white wedding, and believe it or not, she is actually 3 years old. So, you know, it's not really all about the age. Everyone says, yeah, you can breed a female after 3 years. You definitely can't breed them at this size. I don't even think she's 1,500 grams yet. She still has quite a ways to go, and she's pretty much a mouser only. She won't really eat a lot of live rats, and she's a really finicky eater. For some reason, I just can't get her to eat. She's a spider pied white wedding. Really beautiful snake. This is my Coral Glow 100% het pied male, and I paired him up with 3 snakes this year, hoping to get some more Coral Glow stuff. It was really popular last year. Not a whole bunch of Coral Glow stuff in Colorado, so that was pretty cool. And I'm actually pairing him up with my female pied, hoping for the Coral Glow pieds. And I've actually seen quite a few Coral Glow pieds at the show, or banana pieds. Banana and Coral Glow is pretty much the same thing. And I'm really looking forward to actually finally making the Coral Glow pieds. Alright, so I do have 2 more snakes that are not ball pythons. One of them is my big reticulated python male here. His name is Sunny, and I paired him up with my female. He's been on a fast, I'd say, for at least 6 months, and he just refuses to eat anything. He is a really beautiful snake. He weighs about 30 pounds now, so he's got some decent size. And let me show you his mate. Her name is Lucy. All right, so take a look at this girl. This is Lucy, my female reticulated python. She is a white albino, 50% Jampea dwarf. And if I was a betting man, I say she is going to lay some eggs. She's pretty much transformed here just in the last few weeks. If you watched one of my last videos, I actually fed her 1 rat and she slowly ate it, and now she's not really in a feeding mode, but you can tell, like, right in here, look at how big around she is right here. She's really plump, I would say, and it looks like, to me, it looks like she's really building some eggs all through here, especially going off food. That's a really good sign. So I'm hoping she'll give us a clutch of eggs this year. She is a really amazing snake. Okay, so there you have it. That is my collection of 52 snakes, all ball pythons, except my 2 big reticulated pythons. And keep in mind, my number of snakes keeps changing all the time. The next show is in 13 weeks, and you know, you saw one of my snakes just had a clutch of eggs. Those will hatch in 60 days, and then 3 weeks after that, we'll have one of the first reptile shows that I'm going to go to. It's either, I think, Repticon and Reptilian Nation here in Colorado. They're both pretty much back to back, right around the time when my first hatchlings will actually be ready for sale. So it'll be pretty interesting. I'll have some of my stuff from last year. I'd say most of my stuff from last year, these bigger holdbacks over on one side. I'll probably have 1 display case with smaller compartments for my new ball pythons. I'll probably have at least some bamboo stuff, and if I get another clutch of eggs here in the next week or 2, I might have some other stuff. I typically like to have my hatchlings have at least several meals, so they may or may not be ready. These first ones, I'd say they'll have about 3 weeks before that first show, so they might actually take a few rodents and be ready for the show. But time will tell, we'll see. So thanks for coming along, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.